Have you ever really stopped to think about the simple words we use every single day? The ones we just gloss over? Well, today, we're going to put one of those words under a microscope. And you won't believe it, but what we're about to find is a fascinating secret about how language itself is built. Let's dive in. Okay, so the word of the hour is narrow. I know. It doesn't sound like the most exciting word in the dictionary. We've all used it 1,000 times. We all think we know what it means, but do we, really? Let's start with what we all know and just see where this little journey takes us. So here it is, the most basic definition you'll find. If something is narrow, it is not wide, it is thin. You could say, the bridge was narrow, and boom, everyone gets the picture. It's all about describing physical space. Pretty straightforward, right? But here's where it starts to get interesting. The word's power actually goes way beyond just physical stuff. It can also be used for abstract ideas, meaning limited. Think about it. A narrow knowledge or a narrow mind. It's not about your brain being physically thin, but about your perspective being restricted. This flexibility, well, that's our first clue that there's a lot more going on with this simple word. Heck, even the way people say it is a little different. In the US, it's more like neural, but in the UK, it's a bit softer, neura. It's just another little layer to this word. But trust me, that's not the real secret we're here to uncover. All right, so we've covered the basics, but this is where things take a really sharp turn. Because if you look super closely at the source material, the dictionary page itself, there's this little note tucked away right at the top. It's a clue that turns this whole thing into a kind of linguistic detective story. We're looking at the Simple English Wiktionary here. It's got all the stuff we just talked about. Definitions, pronunciation, but I want you to look right here. See this one little sentence? Because this changes everything. There it is. Narrow is on the Basic English 850 list. Now, I bet your first reaction is something like, okay, so what? But you gotta trust me on this one. That single line is a doorway into this massive, incredible idea about language. It's not just some random piece of trivia, it's a special status. And that, of course, brings us to the big question, the one that this whole explainer now pivots on. What on earth is the Basic English 850 list? And why is a word like narrow part of this, well, exclusive club? So to answer that, we have to talk about something called Basic English. And no, it's not just simple English. It's a whole constructed system. You could almost think of it as a tiny language hiding inside a much bigger one, designed for a really ambitious purpose. The BE8050 is this specially chosen list of just 850 English words. And here's the wild part. The whole idea was that with only these words, you could explain almost any complex idea you wanted. It was meant to be a simple, complete tool for international communication, a kind of universal language built from the absolute essentials. Which brings us right back to our little word, narrow. I mean, think about it. Out of the hundreds of thousands of words in the entire English language, why was this word seen as so essential that it made the final cut of just 850? What makes it so special? Well, a huge part of the answer is its versatility. Narrow doesn't just do one thing. It's not just an adjective, like in a narrow bridge. It's also a verb. It's an action. You can say, the road narrows. That's one single word doing the job of two. That is pure linguistic efficiency. And it gets better. A core word like narrow unlocks a whole network of other ideas. It has a direct opposite, wide, which, by the way, is also on the list. So by choosing narrow, you automatically give people the concept of width. It's like a 2-for-1 deal, which makes it an incredibly smart choice when you've only got 850 slots to fill. So what's the big takeaway here? The story of narrow isn't really just about one word. It's a perfect case study in the power of simplicity, and it shows us why this idea of having a core vocabulary is actually so profound. So let's just recap what makes a word like narrow such a powerhouse. 1, it's versatile. It's both an adjective and a verb. 2, it describes a fundamental concept, space. 3, you can stretch it to cover abstract ideas. And 4, it hooks you right into its opposite, wide. It's a true workhorse of a word. And really, this gets to the very heart of Basic English. The goal was never to limit what you can say. It was to maximize clarity. It proves that you don't need a gigantic vocabulary to communicate big, important ideas. You just need the right words, a small set of heavy lifters. So, maybe the next time you use a simple, everyday word like narrow, you'll see the hidden secret it's carrying.
And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. If you had to build a whole language with only 850 words, which ones would you pick first? What are the truly essential ideas? It's kind of fun to think about.